What's up, y'all? I hate to break this bad news to you, and I know some of you might be in shock, but I just got to say it. If you have family members or loved ones or friends that are locked up in jail or in prison, just know that they are not safe. And you need to understand that there is nothing that prison staff or jail staff can do to truly protect them. There's just no way. I don't care what the Eighth Amendment to the Constitution says about cruel and unusual punishment. I don't care what the different state laws might say or the different county laws might say. It does not matter. There is no way that the government or anybody that works in a jail or a prison can guarantee your loved one or your friend's safety. There's just no way. We cannot make everybody safe. And when I talk about this, I am not implicating, so I can't even talk. I'm not implicating any government entities. I am only speaking for myself and what I know over the years. So let me just go ahead and do my disclaimer, anyways. Anything and everything that I talk about in this video, it is of my own opinion, and I do not speak for any government entity in whole or in part. So let's get it cracking. I know there's a lot of people that, live a life of crime, or, they think they might be facing prison time or whatever, or even family members. They know that some of their people are going to go to prison. So they start researching videos and they start going online, looking for different things as it relates to inmate rights and protections, things like that. I'm here to let you know that there is no way that your friends or family or loved ones can truly be protected in a jail or prison. There is no way to make jails or prisons safe. It's virtually impossible. Just looking at just the sheer numbers of it, you have so many inmates, and then you have so few staff members, so few officers, medical, all that stuff. It just doesn't matter. Now, I know when you go to different websites for county jails or state prisons or whatever it might be, you're going to go on the website, you're going to see people smiling and talking about, they're going to offer, custody and care in a humane manner and, offer a safe environment, whatever the case may be. Just know it's a lie. We cannot, or I'll say, I know for me, there is no way that I can truly protect an inmate. And here's the crazy part. You can't even protect inmates from themselves. Now, I'll give you the perfect example. Let's say you have an inmate that is doing time. Let's say they have like really, really bad paperwork and they cannot walk a regular yard. Or let's say they're on the yard and they went bad and now they have to be in special housing. You put them in special housing temporarily, and then you try to move them to another place to where they would reasonably be safe, quote unquote. But even in those situations, when that inmate is alone by themselves, we can't even protect the inmate from themselves, meaning that they will commit suicide. There's nothing that can be done about that. It's pretty much standard that whenever, you might put somebody on suicide watch, you might have to check them, every 10 to 15 minutes or whatever. Even if you follow policy to a T and you only check on them per policy, if you do it exactly to the T, that is still enough time for somebody to cut their veins, their arteries, and bleed out and die. So even though you can remove an inmate from a dangerous environment and then you place them by themselves, we still can't, or I'll say I know that I still couldn't protect them. Now, let me make this clear. I'm not speaking for any government entity at all. I'm just providing my own opinion. A lot of people have this thing twisted. And I told you, y'all gonna start getting a perspective from, somebody that works behind the walls, because all the videos and stuff that I see, majority of it, it's coming from either current inmates or former inmates. Now, shout out to Hector Bravo. He's holding it down, keeping it real. But I'm gonna do my side of things. But trust me when I tell you, your family members, there's just no way that you can guarantee anybody's safety in a jail or prison. There are so many ways that the inmate population can manipulate policy and procedures to their advantage to reach the designated end that they have. Let's say you got a dude that, now here's the funny thing, and this is true. You could have a dude that gets transferred to a PC yard, because for whatever reason their car, said they're no good. You can have a person that's in a PCR where that's supposed to, say that, okay, this is a more conducive environment for your safety, this, that, and the other. You will have active gang members that will fake like they're a PC and go to a PCR to put a hit out on somebody, and then somehow they're able to come back through different things, right? Just manipulative games. So that's why I say, even though we have the Constitution, the Eighth Amendment, against cruel and unusual punishment, even though you have all these rules and regulations from jails and prisons and all none of that matters. There is no way that anybody in a jail or a prison can guarantee or even reasonably guarantee the safety of the inmates. There's just no way. Now, I hate to burst your bubble. If you're one of those people that are looking at going to prison, or you're one of the family members that's looking at going to prison and you're trying to do research for your family member or whatever, I'm going to keep it real with you, okay? Look me in my eyes when I tell you, I don't care what the Eighth Amendment says. There is just no way that prison and jail people can keep your family members or your loved ones safe. The odds are so stacked against jail and prison staff, it's not even funny. You have some prisons where, you would have like 100 and some odd inmates in one pod, and then it's only one or two officers. How in the world do you think, COs are going to be able to do anything? You got 100 and some odd inmates in one area and only two officers, or maybe three. How in the world can you stop stuff? Think about all the cell doors that you have, and there's no way that you can look inside every cell door unless there's cameras inside. But even with the cameras, it doesn't matter because there's blind spots. So if you get anything out of this video, it should be, turn your life around. Don't live a life of crime. Walk away from that, or don't get involved, because I'm telling you, prison and jail, it ain't no joke. It is not a joke. And to take it even to another level, jail and prison staff aren't safe. Even though, we're the ones with the badges and we're supposed to enforce the law and the rules and the regulations of the jails and the prisons, we're not safe. In theory, it's supposed to be hands off. Inmates are not supposed to put their hands on us. They're not supposed to do any of that. If they got a beef with staff or whatever, they're supposed to write it up on paper, go through the administrative remedy process. Even with that, inmates still get socked up, they get stomped out, they get stabbed up, and unfortunately they get killed. And it's sad. And my heart goes out to all of the staff members that have lost their lives over the years, engaging in a noble profession. But yeah, I just want to make it clear on this video, I don't care what the website says, because you're gonna have people on the website talking about the prison, the layout, the occupancy, all that stuff, and people smiling and holding hands on the website. Trust me, all that stuff is just smoke and mirrors. Once your behind lands in jail or prison, nobody, and I repeat, nobody can guarantee your safety. They can't even reasonably guarantee your safety. And ain't no way in the world that I would even try to do that. I've seen people come off the bus that was scared. You could tell they were scared. This was their first time doing time, and they didn't know what to expect. Or even you have seasoned people that come in. It don't matter who you are. You could be a brand new fish coming in that don't know nothing, and you could be a seasoned OG, and everything in between. It don't matter who you are. Anybody and everybody that's in the prison, whether you are an inmate or you work in the prison, anybody can get it. And I'm saying that even to myself. You know what I'm saying? And that's something that you have to you got to just come to that realization. You got to keep it real with yourself. And on here, I'm just keeping it real. And I hope this video turns into a deterrent video. You think it's fun and games, you think it's cool to run the streets and run with these gangs or get involved in this life of crime. But I'm telling you, once you go to prison, you might think your homies are in prison and they're going to look out for you or whatever, but you are just one not even bad decision. You could do something that you feel is right. But if your gang feels like you did something wrong, or your car felt like you was out of line, they can regulate you and kick you out the cool kids club. And now you on your own. So now you got to go somewhere else where you think is reasonably safe. But I'm telling you, there is no part of a jail or a prison where you can say that you are 100% safe. Because just like I said, even if we isolate you, or I'll say me, even if I isolated you from everybody and you're the only one that's in the cell, we, or me, I'll say again, me, I still cannot protect you against yourself. Let's just say, for example, if policy says every 10 or 15 minutes or 20 minutes, because it varies from, different jurisdictions and departments. So whatever the policy is, right? Let's say I follow the policy to a T and you're the only one that's in the cell. Even if I come back and I follow, as soon as I go by your cell and I check on you and I write it down in the book or do whatever, as soon as I walk away, that clock starts again. And I don't have to come back until that next round, which is, prescribed by policy, whatever. So as soon as a CO walks away from that window, now you got at least 10 minutes or 15 minutes, whatever it is. That is more than enough time for somebody to slit their throat or slit their wrist and bleed out and die. I've seen it. I'm not going to just make this stuff up. So again, I hope this is a deterrent video. Okay, ain't nothing cool, ain't nothing fun about prison. It's hard on you mentally, spiritually, and physically on both sides, whether you a staff member or an inmate. But this whole idea, what I'm saying, that, oh well, it's okay, if I gotta do time, I'm gonna just PC up and I'm gonna be cool. No, you're not gonna be cool. There ain't nowhere that you can go in a jail or a prison where you can believe that you are going to be reasonably safe. And again, like I said, inmates, they know the system back and front, inside out. They know policy better than the staff members. They know policy better than the COs. They know it better than everybody. You know what I'm saying? So they know how to use the loopholes. They know how to manipulate things so that way they can go here and go there. You know what I'm saying? We know about, there'll be times where, they need to have some kind of a gang meeting or whatever to determine if people are good or bad or not. So they'll come up with some type of fake court case or some type of fake legal motion to where, they have to get transferred to a different county. And then the other people can be named as witnesses or whatever. And then they get transferred to the county as well. So now, previously, all these inmates were at separate facilities, you know what I'm saying? But now, through court and all that stuff and doing their little pump faking and all that, they're able to manipulate the system to where they're all able to communicate with each other, or they could potentially all be at the same facility. And now, they able to do whatever they need to do. You know what I'm saying? So I'm telling you, I don't care what the Eighth Amendment to the Constitution says. There is no way that you can guarantee a person's safety. You can't even reasonably guarantee it. And when I talk about this, I am not talking about deliberate indifference. I am not talking about, COs that make up in their mind that they just want to go out of their way to make, things unsafe. That's not the case. I'm just talking from just the basic infrastructure and setup of jails and prisons. There are far more inmates than there are officers and staff. Far more. Not to mention, once the shift is over, once, like, say, the daytime is over and it goes into the night, into the late night, obviously there's going to be other staff that's not going to work there. So now you have a decrease, in staffing population. So I'm telling you, there is no way, absolutely no way. And you never know, this video might get me in trouble, whatever. It is what it is. I can defend myself on this, but again, making this clear, this is not trying to say that COs don't care or that the administration doesn't care. It's not that at all. It's just the fact that the sheer numbers and the operation, it is just stacked up against us. How in the world, okay, you could be in a unit, you know what I'm saying, again, or we'll take an example, right? In California, they would utilize gyms, right? And you would have all these different bunk beds, double bunk beds. I've seen triple bunk beds and a gymnasium. And you can only have like a small handful of officers in there. Do you think that those small little handful of officers are going to be able to effectively patrol that area to make sure that the inmates are doing what they're supposed to do? I mean, let's just keep this real. So it's set up in a way to where we will always be at a disadvantage. The inmates know that. They've been knowing that since the inception of jails and prisons. Okay, the deck is stacked up against us to be able to provide reasonable safety to the inmates and to even to the staff. There's just no way. I hate to sound so negative. I hate to sound I don't know, like a pessimist, but it's like I told y'all, I'm gonna give y'all some heat and I'm gonna give y'all some stuff from the perspective of a CO, you know what I'm saying? Because again, all the different videos that I see, it's coming from, either current inmates or former inmates, whatever it is. But it's time for y'all to start hearing from the perspective of a CO, you know what I'm saying? And I'm just being straight up honest with you. So if there's any kids watching this or any young dudes that's watching this that's in a gang and they think it's cool to run the streets and trying to get that fast money and chasing women and all that, just know if your behind lands in jail or prison, the government, whatever you want to call it, there is no way that you could expect, some type of reasonable safety. You are going to have to rely on your gang or whoever you ride with to be your safety or to be your reasonable safety, or you're going to have to rely on yourself somehow. But being a lone wolf in prison, you just can't do that. It's, at least in California, I'll say, it's I mean, you can't be no lone wolf in California. You know what I'm saying? You'll get ate up. You'll be like a lamb chop in the wilderness. Now, other, you know what I'm saying, prisons where they talk about being on man time, maybe, I don't know. I can't speak for that. But just West Coast politics, ain't no way you're going to be able to be a lone wolf and be good to go. So I'm going to wrap this up. I'm not going to go on too long. I can already hear now, I'm sure some of, my people, they trying to find a way to hem me up for this video, but this is a perfectly legitimate, what I'm saying, video. It's just the honest to God truth. So in my opinion, if you don't want to be in an environment where, there's no way that somebody can guarantee your safety in jail or prison, stay out. Leave them gangs. Leave that fast life. All the criminal activity that you're involved in, leave that stuff alone. Cut it loose and do something else productive with your life. Now, don't get me wrong. I do know that there are officers that, they're like hound dogs. They're like, what do you want to call it? They're like, they're good at finding stuff and catching things. But even if, let's just say, for example, let's hypothetically, if every correctional officer was a hound dog and they were always looking to find stuff, the jails and the prisons still could not be reasonably safe. And that's just because it's just the system the way it is and how the ratio is between inmates and COs. The deck is just stacked against you. There's just no way that you can do it. That's why I definitely believe, I know we can never have a 1-for-1 ratio, but that's why I always believe that jails and prisons, it should always be pushed to have adequate staffing or to push to have, more staffing, because not only will that benefit the inmate population, but it'll also benefit the staff as well, because now you have more officers that can have your back, respond to things that's going on. It will be a win-win for both sides. And believe it or not, I know the inmates, I've talked to inmates personally that have said this. When we respond to fights, you know what I'm saying? They are glad when, usually, not all the time, but a lot of times they are glad to see us show up. You know what I'm saying? Because the rule is you got to fight until the police show up and break it up. You know what I'm saying? You got to keep going. And there's some times where people, they think the police are going to show up right away and see it, but they may not see it just because of the sheer numbers. So now here it is. You could be dealing with maybe a simple attack on an inmate, but now you could be going in the realm of attempted murder or murder, because according to the convict code, you have to keep doing it until the police stop it. You know what I'm saying? So there are so many reasons why you would need more officers in your jails and in your prisons. Again, I'm not under any illusion or delusion. I know there can never be no 1-for-1 ratio. I know that'll never happen, right? But it is definitely important, right? It is important that you have adequate staffing in these prisons and jails, so that way you could at least try to reduce. You'll never be able to stop, and you'll never be able to end, what I'm saying, that clear and present danger situation. What I'm saying? You'll never be able to stop that. However, when you have more staffing, it can at least increase the chances. You know what I'm saying? And going back to what I said about the inmates being glad, I've talked to some inmates that personally, they had to regulate somebody and get them off the yard. They were stomping them out, and then we jump on them, cuff them up, and we take them. And they're like, "Man, what took y'all so long, man? Like, dang." Now of course they don't say that on the yard, but as you walking away, because again, you could go from a situation where an inmate is doing a simple discipline and they're beating them up, but then if we can't see it because the thing is just set up for us to be at a disadvantage, if we don't see it, again, now that simple battery or that simple attack on an inmate, now it can transition to a possible attempted murder or an actual murder, what I'm saying, if, it goes on without anybody seeing it. So just know, man, I'm not trying to this is not a propaganda video because I'm not endorsing anything. I mean, I did say for jails and prisons they need more staffing, but I'm not naming anything. I'm just talking in generalities, but just know I am trying to use this video somewhat to scare folks straight. That's in these gangs doing this stuff, or they're flirting with that lifestyle. You need to get out of that. Because I'm telling you, man, going to jail or prison, and especially depending on where you go and if it's active, it's like being in the jungle, and it is like a dog eat dog world. You know what I'm saying? So I know that's a lot to process, and I'm sure some of y'all is like, man, is this dude like taking drugs? Like, what's wrong with him? Does he need a psych test? No, I don't need a psych test, and no, I'm not high on drugs. I'm just keeping it real with y'all. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just trying to give you more incentive to stay out of that life that can land you in jail or prison. You know what I'm saying? Because whatever safety nets you think might be, because you PC up and you decide to try to go on a sensitive needs yard or whatever, just know that still does not reasonably guarantee your safety. There are a million different ways that the inmates know in terms of manipulating the system and manipulating things to where they can cross paths with other people. You know what I'm saying? There's just no way that you can stop it. Even with all of the resources that we currently have, with all of the security procedures and measures that are in place that operate day in and day out, with all of those things that, the average jail and prisons have, that still cannot even reasonably guarantee or reasonably assume that they're safe. It's just no way. So I hope I was able to adequately convey the message of this video. And again, if you one of these dudes watching this video, you into this life and all that kind of stuff, you need to, I'm telling you, man, leave that stuff alone, get into something else, go back to school, go to church, feed the homeless, whatever it is, but just stay out of jail and prison. It is no good. It ain't good for the staff members, and it ain't good for the inmates. That's the reason why, people like us, we're able to retire a lot sooner than the normal workforce. You know what I'm saying? Generally speaking, you could probably do like 20 years or 25 and retire and get a good pension. You know what I'm saying? But that's because we're not expected to live, 5 years past retirement, because the job is so stressful. There's just so many things that are involved. I remember back in the day, the OGs used to call it the 5 and out plan. And that just essentially means like when you retire, they'll say, hey, man, don't you join that 5 and out plan, meaning that you're going to pass away within 5 years of the retirement. But it's just because of, again, the sheer pressure of the job, the stress of it, the high adrenaline dumps, all those different things, that has a heavy effect on your body and on your health. So, if staff that work, if COs that work in the prisons, if they're able to retire sooner than everybody else, then that should be an indication for you, what I'm saying, that you need to keep your behind out of jail and prison. All right. So until the next one, holla at your boy.